Okay, we're back. Hey,
I should have done the whole kind of like, and then, hey, and we're back.
Oh, hey, we're back. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we are gonna start with platform as a service, right? And I know, as an IT pro out there, you might be thinking, that's developer stuff, right? Well, let me tell you, there is a world for you here. Okay, I promise you, there is still. All right, thing one, you are relieved. Thing two is gonna let you know, because
What's the most amusing about this is he's doing it, and I have the developer background.
That's right. That's right.
Take it
See, he was wanting. We were having this dialogue, and he was like, "Well, I should do that session." And I'm like, "No, you shouldn't."
Why would you know about this?
Because you were going to dive into the dev stuff.
I was going to open up Visual Studio, and you all would have left, and then we could have gone home early, and it would have been great.
That is a possibility.
But
no. Sadly, no. We're going to continue on because if you go to the slide, as you can see, Windows Azure loves IT pros, right? And this is what it's all about, connecting IaaS with PaaS, giving you folks and the audience out there today a little love. From Thing 2 here.
Thing 2 loves you all.
Oh boy, here we go. My animations got kicked in again. I don't know how that happened when I reviewed them last time. The transitions. There we go. So let's save that up and let's continue onward. Well, there was a slide earlier, okay, that I had that I snuck in. Because I was like, you know what? I'm definitely going to get this one in there because there's some folks that still are a little weary of what is the difference between all of these different things, right? And if you look at this, your left side is what you're managing across the whole stack. You manage the wires, the storage, the servers, the vert, the OS. When you go to infrastructure as a service, right, we take care of this bottom layer for you, but you're still doing that patching. And I know you're trying to comment on my drawing. You're holding your tongue.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at. I remember the slide
yes.
from like 2008.
Yeah, it's the same one, you know. But hey, the reality is that a lot of folks are now just starting to look at all of these options, right? I mean, at Windows Azure, when we first started, we were really just platform as a service. So here we go. So when you move up to platform as a service, right, these three areas are the huge difference, right? The runtime, the middleware, and the OS, right? You no longer have to patch that. You don't have to worry about security patches of the OS, any of those other things in there. You got the app and the data. Click the scale, and you're good to go, right? If we move next, why in the world is this any better? Like, why do we...
I thought you were going to say, why in the world is this not the right color or something?
The right color. Well, see, I have fancy highlighting tools here that you can all see on the screen. So if I really want to highlight, physical, see, right? I can do that. Anyway, I digress.
It's like kids with a new toy, isn't it?
That's right.
You think we'd never used PowerPoint before.
Look, I can draw.
They don't let us out very often, so
no.
Please bear with us.
Thing two.
Normal service will resume shortly. That's
right. Okay, back to the show. IaaS and PaaS. Why is this unique? Well, you know, one thing with PaaS I will say about Windows Azure is, right, you saw how easy it was already. You saw how you spin up a website, you know, from the gallery image perhaps, you kick the slider off and you're good to go, right? Well, but for a lot of folks, we know that they are going to have more complex applications than that, right? They can't just forklift everything and, you know, have only a PaaS application. So we have the ability to very easily connect your infrastructure as a service and your platform as a service together so that it helps you to move a lot of the applications and the workloads that you need to move forward with and scale in the cloud, right? And it can be a very powerful solution for you. But why in the heck do you care about PaaS? Well, it's faster in many ways, right? Because you are going to be able to deploy it pretty quickly. You're also going to be able to scale it really fast. And right, from the cost perspective, you're not paying for this storage of this large VHD and this, tons of compute hours necessarily that you might not have to have if you are if you're running all of that other middleware that's on top of it, right? You're focused on the compute just for the app that needs it. And then lower risk, right? Well, if you don't have to manage the OS, and you don't want to have to forget about patching, or whoops, some guy went in and RDP'd into my virtual machine and jacked up the configuration of it, right? No big deal, right? You just scale it up or blow away the underlying infrastructure beneath and deploy a new instance. So it's really, right, I mean, from the infrastructure perspective, it is, in my opinion, the future, right? PaaS and SaaS. And
it's like Bonnie and Clyde.
That's right.
Bill and Ben.
That's right.
Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry. Thing one.
Thing one.
And thing two. There you go. All right. You got to keep it going,
I know.
Oh, all right. Well, how can you connect these two together? I'm going to show you a demo of this, but there are a number of different ways you can connect them up via the VIPs, or you can just use virtual networking and two different subnets or the same subnet to connect those two instances together. And with that, really going to go to this demo on connecting these two applications together. That link at the bottom there, I'll reference it as I go through this demo here. But essentially, that is a help for those of you who have, let's say, IaaS applications that want to migrate that application over to a PaaS instance, right? There's some steps on how to do that. And that's basically what we did in this demo that I'm about to show. Okay, so let me go over to my demo environment here. And let's start to deploy some stuff, right? First of all, I want you to realize that I'm in this DC01 VM, okay? This is my DC01 VM that's inside of Windows Azure. And this DC01 VM has SQL on it. It has System Center Operations Manager on it. But the most important thing is this could be your typical web application, right? And in my particular case, I have this application called Cloud Shop. The Cloud Shop application has SQL, and it has a front-end IaaS server. So what I've done is I've migrated that VHD up, similar to the storyline of what you're used to from the previous modules here. And on the endpoints, I've opened up HTTP.
Is that H or H?
H.
H.
I'm trying to
TTP.
be like thing
Just go
one.
TTP.
TTP, doing that TTP prot of 80 there, and the private port of 80. And the beauty of this, right, is that now that we have a public IP address, what I can do is when I go to my dashboard, I can look and say, hey, itcamp123.cloudapp.net, type that in a browser. You could technically do this as well, and it is not highly available and load balanced and all that stuff, so, lay off. No, I'm just kidding. But
why is that? Did you not put the work in? I mean,
no. So that's my app, right? I mean, I've opened up, even though this app was previously running on just, let's say, a Hyper-V in your own data center. We moved it up there, opened up the endpoints. Now the app's working, right? A pretty quick migration. Well, that's still all just an app running inside of a VM. Well, the next step is my developers have conveniently had the load for the front end of this IaaS application and migrated it to a PaaS application. And what they have done for me is they have given me this Cloud Shop package, right? Oh, it's a package, right?
And this really isn't an evil thing. It's like a zip file with everything in.
Right.
It's got the HTML and the ASP.NET and everything like that in. So we give it a funny extension and we kind of encrypt it in quotes.
Right.
But essentially it's a zip file with all the files on, and that is we know what a zip file is, right?
Well, yeah, we can handle that. Hey, you got 2 files? I can handle 2 files. I know what to do with that, right? More specifically, though, if we were to open up this service configuration file, there's kind of 2 parts to it, right? Because the zip file, you could say, is this the CS package file. The CS CFG, or the config, contains a number of things here that makes more sense to most of the IT folks out there, right? You've got things like, ooh, the count is 1 for the number of instances, right? And the things that you definitely want or you might need to change is this virtual network site name. In this case, we see domain VNet. That's specified up in Azure. And then we also have the name of the role and also the subnet, which is also key. Because if we don't have the same subnet there, then the app is not going to deploy because it says, no, I don't know where you're trying to deploy.
So this is the equivalent of deploying a VM and picking those things from the list, but instead they're in this evil XML document.
This evil?
Well, it's not evil, but
come on, thing one.
Oh, come on.
Come on. Okay, you're supposed to be the developer. You're supposed to love those files, right?
Oh, come on.
I thought you were going to show me. You were going to show me the Visual Studio to create those files, weren't you?
I know.
No. Yeah. So no, we're not going to do that to you. But okay, so that's great. And remember earlier I deployed this domain VNet, so just to kind of mirror those file names, right? I've got here, go to my network, I've got this domain VNet here, and when I go to configure it, just so you can see, there is a subnet called subnet there, right? And so that matches that configuration file. But now I want to deploy a new platform as a service instance up into the cloud based on those packages, right? So if I go here, new cloud service, custom create, I still need to pick a new cloud service name, and I'll just say Cloud Shop PaaS David.
Bacon.
Got to put you would put bacon, but I'm just going with the David thing.
Right. You're not thing 2.
Yes.
You know why it's
well, you know what? Hey, that's a good
You
call.
all
I'm thing 2. There we go. Cloud Shop PaaS thing 2. That's what I need. And then
know your place.
Hey, thing 2. Oh, look at you, thing 1. What was that kind of breath all about?
I crossed the line there, didn't I?
That was the Darth Vader thing 1 voice or something, I think.
Yes.
I don't know.
I am your father.
You're scaring me.
It's getting really hot in here. We should move on. We're all going to be like...
So anyway, I'm going to deploy a cloud service while Darth Vader goes and takes out his lightsaber. So, thing 1 takes out his lightsaber or something like that. But anyway, let's keep going here. We want to deploy this cloud service package that our developers handed off to us. We choose a deployment name. This doesn't really matter. I'll say the thing 2 is better.
Is better than thing 1.
Than thing 1 deployment. That's the deployment name that I have. And when I go to the package file, that's the CS package deal there. And then I have my configuration file that specifies all that good stuff. And then I need to check this checkbox down here, which says, hey, deploy this thing even if 1 or more roles, because it's like a warning that says, hey, you're really not fault tolerant when you only deploy one role. But because I'm just showing you this, I don't really care. So I'm gonna click on that and choose the checkbox there, and then magically it's going up and creating a platform as a service instance that is a front end to that SQL box. That was pretty quick. It just created that. The thing that I should point out, and this is something that really you would have to dig into Visual Studio to see.
Yay.
But I'm not going to.
Oh.
But this Cloud Shop Azure package has a web.config file in it. And that web.config file, we told our developers to say, hey, our SQL server up in Windows Azure has the IP address of 10.0.0.4, right? And so even though I've deployed this Cloud Shop PaaS thing too, what we can do is we can go to that now. First of all, I should say with errors. What did it fail about? Domain VNet. Okay, well, earlier it did work, and that was where you need to check your domain names. So I'd have already deployed this, thankfully, right up into the cloud. And I have here this URL for the paascloudshop.cloudapp.net. So when I click on this, Still going, voila, right? We have now the front end, which is platform as a service, and the back end is using that same DC01 SQL box. So that is the connection of IaaS and PaaS, even though it's a little abstracted, right? Because it's kind of packed up in that CS configuration file. But now, right, I have the advantage of going in and scaling this guy up, right? I can scale the front end, although the SQL box we might scale in a different way, or we would scale in a different way. We can scale that front end to handle the load, and IaaS on the back end for the SQL box is right there.
Absolutely.
So that is the connectivity between IaaS and PaaS. So with that, I think we are calling it a wrap with the IaaS and PaaS, unless we have any pressing questions perhaps on the queue. We should check.
We should check.
Okay, let's see.
You can check because I typed too loud.
So,
and I don't know the URL, so I can't get back in because I accidentally closed it down. That's the real reason. Sorry.
Yeah, so, thing one is being loud on his keyboard, but I am going to try and answer some questions over the roar over there. It says, Mr. Paul B., am I right in thinking instead of creating the package, the developers could deploy straight from Visual Studio? I'll let you handle that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll let you
okay, so they can, and the irony is, there's two ways Visual Studio will do that. One is it will actually create the package and upload the package directly. I can't stress this enough. Not in production. The last thing you want is your devs having access to your production. So they're going to have a subscription. You have an MSDN subscription, actually, that they can use. And they're going to publish from within Visual Studio. It still builds that package and it uploads it, but you don't have to go into the portal to do that. So we kind of integrated that experience into the tooling.
Yep.
But you don't want to give them access to production. That's crazy.
Right. Well, see, and if we want to snap back over to my screen here, I can show you how easy it is for somebody to just upload a staging environment. And this is one of the other big things that you aren't necessarily going to have if you have just a VM, right? If you go here, you can see that there's a production and a staging environment here, right? And all you need to do is, right now we have one instance of this Cloud Shop running, and if you go to staging, you could say upload a new staging deployment, has the same kind of thing. You could test out staging, make sure it's all working, happy and good, and then if it works, just swap the two, right?
Yep.
Say, hey, I want my staging to be production, and then upgrade your app that way.
Yeah, and you don't have to upgrade the app all in one go either. You can actually decide to do a manual rollout. So if you've got five of those web roles, you could choose to do one at a time or two at a time, and that allows you to kind of deploy and put some users on there, and if it's all good, you can continue the deployment, and then if it's not so good, you can kind of roll back as well. So there's a lot more kind of service-focused, keeping you running 24/7 technology in the PaaS services, because we can automate a lot of that deployment.
Right. And if you want to snap back one more time to my demo environment, there's one other thing I wanted to show is, so with this PaaS deployment, right, I deployed it onto my domain VNet. And what you can see here is that this Cloud Shop instance here, right? So you see there's the IN0. That is, when you see that IN_0 or 1 or that other number, that's where you know, hey, this is a platform as a service instance inside of my virtual network. And in this particular case, right, I just went ahead and deployed it onto the same subnet as my virtual network, but you could as easily use, a different subnet that's in the same virtual network. And right, I do still have two cloud services, right? Because my DC01 is this IT Camp 123, and then my Cloud Shop app is in another cloud service, this PaaS Cloud Shop thingamajiggerbobber, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So there we go. This is, I think, a wrap on platform as a service and infrastructure as a service and how you might combine those together. We will be back in approximately 10 minutes.